There you are, and welcome to the Nine Questions podcast, where I'm going to bring exciting insights and wisdom from some of the niftiest leaders in our community. So, I'm your host, Sam Thompson, and I'm excited to share all this with you. Each podcast is going to have someone that's an authority on the subject matter that we're going to talk, and we're going to look at stories and strategies and tips on how to live life in our magical world, right? How to navigate today's adventure, so to speak. So, whether you're looking for inspiration or tips or some wisdom, some motivation, practical advice, this podcast is for you. So, tune in the 9th of each month for the new 9 questions. Don't forget to subscribe and rate. Share would be cool. Now, keep your arms and legs inside the vehicle at all times, and let's get on with the show. Thanks for watching. Welcome to the 9 questions. I am honored to be sitting with, as in, technology, with Stephanie Woodfield, who's been a practicing pagan for the last 20 years. She's a devotional polytheist, author, teacher, and priestess of the Morrigan. She's the founder of the Morrigan's Call Retreat and is an organizer of several other pagan gatherings. A longtime New Englander that now resides in the Orlando area. That's Florida, for those of you that don't know. And she's there with her husband and 3 overly pampered cats. Stephanie, welcome. Glad you're here.
Thank you for having me.
So let's just dive right into it, right? What does being a priestess mean to you?
Being a priestess means a lot of different things to different people, but for me, it is all about service. So it's service to the Morrigan, since I am specifically devoted to the Morrigan, and also to the community. So that can mean a lot of different things, but I think the biggest thing is that I have to understand what the Morrigan needs and what the community needs, and that might not be what I think it needs, if that makes sense. If the Morrigan is pushing me to help someone, they may not follow the exact same path as me. They might not do ritual the same way as me. They might not even connect to the Morrigan in the same way, but my purpose is to be a bridge between her and them and help them on their path. So you have to kind of really approach it as it's not about you. Your own personal devotion is about you, but when you're a priestess, you're in service to something greater. And, you may not jive with everything that entails, but you are still a bridge between people and the gods, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so being priestess is more about being in service than the actual title of being priestess.
Oh, right. If you're looking at it as I'm, the big high hoo-ha, that's the complete wrong thing. Besides the fact that there is so much stuff behind the scenes that no one is ever going to talk about or see. Like we just did a ritual at Mystic South in Georgia. And I can tell you that one ritual, which was less than an hour long, took like 4 months of planning, of prep, trying to figure out what the Morrigan wanted for that ritual, because we don't just write a ritual, we do divination. We figure out what does she need to tell the people they're going to be there. And then we have to block it out and write the material, practice it 20 minutes before and realize the Morrigan wants something changed, change that, and then actually do the ritual. That's 4 months of intense work that no one has any clue has happened.
So you just don't like wake up and do this, right?
No, you don't. I think what you had said earlier when we were talking about, you just say yes, ma'am, to what the Morrigan wants sometimes. It's kind of like that. I mean, there is reward. You do have a deeper connection to the divine, and you can absolutely see that you're doing something good for others, and that's rewarding in itself. But I think you have to be called to do this. My husband calls it madness, like that, and my artistic endeavors are all my madness that I can sit and write for hours is crazy to him, but it's kind of like a divinely inspired madness.
Yeah, I can identify. I can a little bit. So in all that you've done, because you've been, you're how many books are you up to? 4, 5?
soon to be 6, and
Soon
then
to be.
there's 3 other projects in the works that I'm
So
working on simultaneously because madness.
yeah, of course. Why not? You know, who needs pesky free time? You know?
What's that?
So I mean, out of all this that you have done and your involvement in the community and your travels and all that kind of thing, what is it that you're the most proud of?
I think creating the Morgan's Call Retreat is
Mm,
definitely what I'm most proud of because that has become not just an event, but a community,
mm.
which I did not expect from, when I started the whole thing. I didn't even know if it was going to go more than 1 year, other than the Morgan said, go do this. So I did it. And out of that community, I have a lot of wonderful friendships. And we have a lot of people that we do a lot of great work with, and it's still continuing to grow, which is amazing. And it's relatively drama free, which is pretty amazing in the pagan world.
As a participant, because I went, that's where actually we met was
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
Um, it's an event that if not to promote it, but I'm going to promote it because it is out of all the pagan events I've been to, there was zero drama whatsoever, and everybody got along with, and it didn't matter from what direction you were coming from. Everybody supported you in whatever direction you were coming from, why they were doing their thing, right?
Mhm.
So uh, it is by far probably one of the best events I've ever been to.
Oh,
Um,
thank you.
and and I've been to a couple over the years. So it's if you ever get a chance to go, you're listening to this, you ever get a chance to go, don't just think about it, figure it out how to get there because it's fantastic. Speaking of that and all you're doing and all your madness, right? I'm assuming you practice some form of self-care. How do you do that with everything that you got going on? You
I
know?
guess probably the most honest answer is I need to do more of it, a lot more of it. But for me, it's getting away from everything and going into nature, whether that is like we have a local wildlife drive here with all the migratory birds, which is really beautiful. Going hiking, or a couple weeks ago, we just went on vacation to Ireland where we weren't leading a pilgrimage or doing anything as a group. It was just us, and we got to go to some of the sites and really connect. That's what I really needed. It's hard because a lot of the things that I love and feed me are also work. I mean, I love writing, I love creating jewelry, but it is also part of the work I do. So it's kind of hard when the thing that you love and helps you relax is also the thing you really need to get away from for a little bit.
It's
So it's kind
kind of
of,
an oxymoron here a little bit
it
there,
is, right?
isn't it?
So yeah, definitely being in nature, going to sacred sites, and not just sacred sites in Ireland. I think there's sacred sites all around us, and you just have to go into the natural world around you and find them.
So basically unplugging from the tech, if I'm understanding
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Well, if you look at my Instagram, you can clearly see I video blogged a whole lot of Ireland. And when I go out to camping or hiking, I do have my phone on me. So I'm mostly disconnected from
But
technology.
I mean, could you also look at that as part of the self-care is cataloging what you're doing, or is that a distraction while you're
No,
doing?
I think it's nice. It's kind of like a live journal. I can remember what I was thinking. And you can kind of go back to that moment when you're in the video. And if you watch my journey through Carol Keel, I really thought we were at the top for several over several hills, and then I realized we're not at the top. So I can go back to that moment. Damn,
But
I have
wait,
to
there's
keep
more.
climbing.
So I'm sure you've kind of run across a couple of these, but what is your pet peeve?
I have a couple of pet peeves.
Okay, well let's lay them out there. Let's just get it all off your chest. Come on.
I have a lot of books. You're only seeing like a small corner of the library that goes through the entire house. If someone borrows a book and dog ears a page, like,
Ooh.
oh, there's Yeah,
There's collective groan across the internet as they watch this.
right? Like you don't do that to a book. Like, I mean, if I have to buy like an out of print used book and I see like highlights or dog ears, I'm like, oh, this book's been abused. So yeah, I don't know if you ever borrow a book from me and you bring it back with that, we're not friends anymore. Then more in like the broader pagan terms, pagan standard time.
Oh God.
I'm sorry, I can't. If we said we're starting the ritual at this time, we're really starting the ritual at this time. And I know things happen. I totally get that. But like I've had it like where it's more like at a convention or a public event. People walk into the room where the ritual's happening and it's halfway over. Like, what do you really think you're going to get out of this? Like, did you think I really wasn't going to start the ritual at the time that it said on the schedule? So, I,
Yeah.
just punctuality is important.
On time means you're late.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of
Right.
where
You should be 10 minutes early.
in my world, if you're on time, you're late, you know? Yeah. Yeah, I can identify with that a lot. Mm.
So show up for the ritual on time.
Just show up on time, no matter what it is. Just if you say you're going to be there, be there.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Ugh. Um, what's the one thing that you've always wanted to do that you haven't done yet?
I haven't done yet. Um, well, I would love to win the lottery and move to
Oh.
Ireland. That's the first thing that happens to come to my mind. Maybe I'll like snowbird there, live there part time, then come back to Florida because, I do like the sunshine here and it does get cold over there.
It does. Yeah. Yeah.
But as far as that I haven't done yet, I guess I have not completely done it yet, but create an Oracle deck, but it's
Ooh.
coming.
I know
So,
you. I know that is one thing, and we'll talk about that in a minute. I know that is one thing that you're working on. So,
mhm.
yeah. So we'll be able to check that one off, and you'll have to add something else then,
There you go.
right? Is that
Yeah.
how it works? Um. So you have written several books, and you're in the process of writing more, and with the Oracle decks and all the other stuff that you got going on. What's the one thing about being an author that you did not expect?
That my priesthood would be as public as it is. I
Ooh.
mean, I was still a priestess before publishing anything, and it was more of like a personal service. And I was doing rituals with other people, but it wasn't as public as it is now. Certainly with the retreat, it's very public, or I'm going to conventions and doing ritual and things like that, or people come to me and ask me questions. I'm a very introverted person. I never figured that I would be doing all of this stuff that requires being out in the wider world. I'd be happy, sitting at home in a comfy chair with a book, and that's, yep. And the Morgan always has different ideas, and often she tricks me into doing things. I probably should have said it in the self-care part. She actually tricked me to go on vacation once.
Okay, you got to
So,
explain it. You're gonna
so
have to. You can't
I'll
just. We're
explain
not.
that.
We're not vague booking here. We got to. Got to
But
unpack that a little bit.
I think writing the book actually kind of tricked me
Which book
into
was this?
the first book, Celtic Lore
Okay.
and Spellcraft of the Dark Goddess. I think that because that started everything else. So I think that tricked me into going out into the wider community and doing more public priestessing and building community and doing things like that. So I didn't really, I thought, oh, you write a book, you send it off, maybe you go do some interviews, and that's it. Be at home and relax. Not the Morgan's idea of being an author. But how she tricked me into going on vacation, I should say that she tricked both me and my friend Karen, who into going on vacation, is that we were going to do a series of workshops at a spiritual store in Myrtle Beach. And COVID, it was still very early on, and everyone was not sure like when we could go start doing things. It was the tail end of it. And it just kind of turned into, okay, well, with everything going on, we're just going to do a book signing and whoever shows up, shows up. And we almost canceled the whole thing because we're like, well, this was going to be a much larger thing we were going to do, but circumstances. And I'm like, you know what? I already have the hotel booked. Why don't we just go down there? We'll do the book signing the one day, and then the rest of the time, we'll just have a vacation in Myrtle Beach and relax. And we both are not the best at self care. We keep doing things. So yeah, we at the end we're like, you know what? As we're like walking on the beach and just relaxing, we're like, I think the Morgan tricked us into going on vacation. Like this seems like this was her plan all along.
Well, there's worse places to be.
Yeah, there are absolutely.
There are worse places to be. I can see that. I can see that. For someone that's coming into paganism, and I'm going to say pagan as a broad umbrella to encompass the heathens, and just I'm not trying to exclude anybody by not mentioning everybody. I'm just using it as a very broad umbrella. Someone that's coming new into the pagan path, what advice would you give them?
You have to find what works for you. And don't worry about doing it the wrong way. I think there's a lot of emphasis on there's only one specific right way. And if you learn from this person over here, well, that's not the right way. You should be doing it this way. I think we're so scared about whether we're doing it the right way that we're not even practicing something that's authentic. And I don't mean authentic as this is the way the Druids did it, or, whatever path you're in, whatever ancient tradition it springs from, that, you're doing it the way they did it thousands of years ago. I'm talking about being authentic to yourself.
Hmm.
So you have to find what authentically works and speaks to you. And that may be something that, I suggest, and it may not be. It could be something that you create yourself or that you found somewhere else in the book world or the internet or in the community. If it's not authentic to what you need and what your heart is saying and how you connect to the divine, then it's not right. It's not the right thing, even though someone is telling you it is. So find what works for you and don't be afraid to explore. I mean, what I believe and think now versus what I did when I first started has changed. And that's okay. I think that means that we're on the right path, because if you are on a spiritual path, that means you are going to change. So that means you're doing it right.
I agree. In the 30 years that I've been doing this, I'm completely different now. Well, not completely, but vastly different now than I was 30 years ago. When I started, times are obviously a lot different now than they were,
Yeah.
before the internet. So, and I always tell folks, probably the most intimate relationship you're going to have, other than with a partner, depending on the kind of partnership that you have, the most intimate relationship is going to be with your deity.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever works between y'all, meaning you and your deity, that's what needs to happen, regardless of what all the outside noise is, and all the widgets that you get.
Yeah, no one's going to relate to deity the same way as someone else.
Well, you're different. I mean, even though, I consider myself a priest of the Morgan and you're a priestess of the Morgan, I can pretty much guarantee that our relationship to her is going to be different.
Yeah.
Because we're different.
Mm-hmm.
Why would it be the same?
And I just don't know why that's so scary to people now. I don't know if it's that we just have so much information. Like, I mean, when I started, there was like the dial-up AOL chat room. And you went to, I know, and it was kind of creepy in there, let me just say.
Remember the modems? Yeah.
Or you go to the local bookstore or that one little teeny section in like Barnes and Noble where they had like pagan books, and you maybe try to like somehow not awkwardly talk to the other person who's in that section. And it doesn't matter if like I'm worshiping Irish deities and they worship, I don't know, Egyptian deities. Like, it's just that it just was so cool to find someone that did something even remotely similar to what you're doing. I mean, I don't know if it's because it was so scarce back then and now we just have an overload of it. Like, we have it everywhere. It's not exactly mainstream, but it's pretty close to being mainstream in a way.
I wonder if it's just people are just afraid of being wrong,
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of that.
and I'm littered with mistakes. you know? I mean, I have a forge full of it, right? So I mean,
Yeah,
I've learned to be wrong, but the thing that I've learned through it is I learned how not to do something.
right. A
To
mistake can be valuable.
which is huge because I don't have to do that again. I don't know what it is, but I know that ain't it. you know?
Maybe it's some need for perfection, like we can't make mistakes, that mistakes somehow taint us or something like that. I don't know if that's the idea behind it, or maybe even like uh, you know, we have a lot of people online who being like an influencer is now like an actual job you can have and make money on. And I almost wonder if part of it is because, if you're doing that kind of work online and that's your like income, you have to be right, you have to be the only voice, and maybe people get caught up in that there is only one voice. But it is kind of funny because I think a lot of us left mainstream religion to get away from dogma, and we're right back we're right back at dogma again.
And we were having this conversation, before we were recording, is that, sometimes I think we're becoming, like you said, so trying to be so same that we're not allowing any flexibility to grow. Because
Right.
if everybody thinks the same way, does the same thing the same way, if everything is the same, then it becomes sterile. My opinion, okay, for
No, I agree. Then
for what it's worth.
you don't grow, you don't try something new. I mean, I think it would probably make people feel scared to try something new because it's not, in line with what everyone else is doing. And I don't know,
Growth is
you shouldn't
hard.
be afraid of it.
Growth is hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's painful. I mean, depending on how hard headed you are, it can be very
Wait a minute,
painful.
isn't it supposed to be all love and light and happy auras and crystals?
But it's hard.
It
I
is.
don't,
Yeah.
growth is. I mean, you look around you, and growth is hard,
Mhm.
right? Birth is hard. The beginning is hard. And it doesn't change anyway. So
Yeah, then there's a lot of blood involved, which is why we both like the
yeah.
Morgan, I guess.
And let's unpack that one more step to people that find themselves in a leadership role, because I think a lot of times people just end up there. Some people seek it
Yeah.
out, and some people just end up there. And neither one of them is wrong. This isn't a judgment on that. But someone that, from your experience, that finds himself in a leadership role, what advice would you tell them from? Because I'm sure we both have some horror stories, but on ways not to do things.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, what advice would you offer somebody that finds himself there?
Well, kind of like with what I was saying about priesthood, it's not about you. You have to look at other perspectives, and you kind of have to leave some of that judgment behind. Like, for example, and I talk about this a little bit in Priestess the Morgan in that book. I had someone who contacted me who they had talked to a couple other people too, and they had kind of gotten the same answer. They had had some dream about the Morgan, and she had appeared with deer, and he wanted to know like where in the lore does she, have a connection to deer, and she doesn't, which is not exactly the answer he wanted to hear. But instead of just blowing him off like the other people had and just say no, she doesn't have a connection with deer, I kind of went more the route, okay, she doesn't have a connection in folklore to deer, but what did deer mean to you? You
Mm-hmm.
know, what is she saying by showing this animal to you? And I mean, his Facebook profile had a bunch of deer and stags on it. So obviously you connect to this animal in some way. Like, does it represent you? What does it speak to? It doesn't mean that you're getting this ancient information that no one knew about the Morgan deer cults revealed to you. It means she's trying to speak to you, and let's figure out how is she talking to you and what is she talking to you about. I think The other people he had talked to were more like, oh, well, you're just crazy. That there is no Morgan, deer connection. Like, you're not talking to the Morgan.
Yeah.
And see, that's the thing. Like, if you just kind of blow off someone's experience and you don't kind of help guide them to maybe figure out what it is, because deer mean nothing to me in the Morgan, but it obviously meant something to him. Um, it can be very damaging if you're in that position of power. I see a lot of people who have been damaged by the leaders in their community because they feel that, just being dismissed by them um, has kind of stopped their connection between deity and themselves.
Mm.
They've kind of, lost that because they feel that they were kind of rejected. And, that's dangerous. You have that power in that position. You just need to understand it might not resonate with you on your personal path as a priest, but you're here to help guide someone on their path. And I think that position, you have to understand what it is and that you can really damage someone else's connection to the divine and maybe discourage them from their own spiritual path. So you have to kind of be open to other perspectives. It's again, it is all about service to something other than you. And I might have veered a little bit off from the
No,
question.
because I'm always big on full disclosure, right? And I can say that I'm a little bit guilty of here's what it says in the Lord, right?
Mhm.
And I was corrected. I'll also give full disclosure. I was corrected.
Yeah.
Um, pretty upfront. We're who the F are you to tell me how I can and cannot show up?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And it took
Honestly.
me a
Yeah.
minute to go, yeah, who am I? You
Right.
know,
Like,
she, not to get on the
gonna talk to
Morgan
them
thing
however
because
she
that's
wants to.
it's what I know, but she's going to show up how I need to see her or
Mhm.
how she needs me to see her. And for me to judge how you see her to say, well, that's not right. That can't be it.
Yeah.
You're off the right. Who am I to say that? That's between you and your deity, and how that's working out between the two of y'all is between the two of y'all.
Right.
You know,
And especially if that's someone new to a pagan path and getting that kind of reaction.
how devastating.
Right, right. Like, it's not going to encourage you to explore your spirituality anymore. I mean, and I think that, we do have that, responsibility to, okay, yeah, I don't see it like that, but kind of help them figure it out. Like, I think it's better to be a guide along the path of someone else's path in this case than someone who just tears them down or says my path is the only path. So,
Now, on the flip side of that, there's some people that have made some outlandish
oh yeah,
assumptions.
oh, they
that I'm
absolutely
like,
have.
where did that come from? Anyway,
I think though that kind of stuff, to me anyway, then this is just my perspective, is a lot of people want to have the great download of, information that only you have received and it must be dispersed to the masses. I think a lot of the things that are those like wacky things that we see out there, it's really UPG that is meaningful to the person, and they
right,
have misconstrued it
for
as
those
this
that don't
message to the masses.
know, what is UPG?
Unverified personal gnosis.
Okay.
So that is
Some people,
something that you can't verify that you've experienced.
gotcha. Right. So just there are some people that probably may not understand that. Now I will say that I use the lore as a litmus, right? So this is what I know, and this is what I'm seeing. Is there a way to extrapolate that? Is
Yeah.
there a way that can kind of, because you do need a little bit of guardrails, but to take it, the deer comment that you had, how is that showing up? Does that mean nature? Does that mean, running with the pack? Does that mean leading,
Right.
or defending? How is that showing up? Because stags are very defensive. They're very
Yeah, they are.
protective of their herd, right? So I mean, there can be, there's an easy way to I can see an easy way to tie that back.
Right. Or, if you want to tie it to something Irish, what does stags mean in other, Irish folklore, But, just not to shut people down is the thing. But yeah, I do agree that the folklore and the lore that we have is kind of your guardrails. You can kind of compare it and, see if something jives. Sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't.
All right. So what do you got coming at us next? What's next for Stephanie, and what can we expect?
Well, 2024, I don't have an exact date, but it will be sometime in 2024. There's going to be the Morgan Oracle, the Call of the Morgan Oracle. I have and I'm co-authoring that with Karen Storminger, who you know, and we have just finished the manuscript, which I don't know about you. When you finish a manuscript, it's like giving birth or something. It's like this thing that you love, but you're so tired of it, like you wanted to be done. It's that feeling. I'm like, yes, complete. And the art is by Naomi Kornick, which I
Oh,
think you've seen some of her art.
yeah,
It's
I'm
amazing. She's
fanboy.
also a priestess of the Morgan, which is
Yeah,
cool. Got 3 priestesses working on it.
yeah, big time fanboy. Yeah, love her
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, love her stuff.
And then I have
So what
another
is it?
super
Can you give us a
project.
glimpse? Can you give us a glimpse of what this is?
Well, what's really cool about the Oracle deck is it's not just an Oracle deck. So you have some practices that you can do with the deck that we have in the beginning, so you can connect more deeply to the Morrigan. And every single card actually has a spell that goes with it. So you're
Ooh,
not just getting an Oracle deck, you're getting a spell book and an Oracle deck.
so this means I'm gonna have to do some more work, right?
Right.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
the art is amazing, and we relate it to the folklore and the myths, and I think I just think the artwork is gorgeous, so I think everyone's gonna love it.
I haven't seen anything that she's done that I haven't liked.
Right.
I've seen
She
some of them.
channels everything too.
That's cool. I like that. And then there's those wow pieces that she does, and I'm like, oh my god, she just hit me right here with it. She's
Have
amazing.
you seen the one with the sword yet, where the Morgans hold
Yes, where it's
the
just like
sword?
right. Yeah,
That
that's
that was actually inspired by a ritual we did at the retreat too, where the priestess was not supposed to do that, and the priestess was channeling, and it kind of just happened. And everyone that went up to her with the sword pointing at them, like, had all these amazing experiences afterwards. So I don't know how, like, I mean, we described it to her, but like she so captured that moment. Absolutely.
yeah. That was a wow piece. I saw that. I said, oh yeah. I need more wall. I need more
Right.
wall stuff,
Yeah.
right? I've got, something. Yeah, I got to figure out a way to get this, because my beloved will go. I think you have enough. I said, no, no, I need
No,
this.
no,
My
no. I
precious.
mean,
You
she
know,
makes small ones. You can have like a bunch of like postcard size ones on the
I've
wall.
yeah, I have a wall full of it now. So yeah, I can see more coming. I can see more coming. All right. So this is a question that I ask everybody.
Mhm.
Um, what's the one thing that we can do individually to help make our community at large better?
I think just kindness and doing good things in the world, making the world a better place than how you found it. And I don't mean just in the pagan community. I mean, just go out there and do things in the greater community too. If it's in the pagan community as well, that's great. But I mean, you can also kind of be an ambassador to other people to see, like, oh, those pagans aren't so crazy. With the retreat and also one of the local groups, the local gatherings I do, Pagans in the Park, we always raise money for an organization, whether it's like an animal shelter or something like that, or go volunteer. My husband, a couple of weekends ago, because we had a hurricane up here, not thankfully not near where I am, but to the north and kind of like 3 hours away, kind of closer to the Panhandle. He is part of a overland group. I don't know if you know what that is, like where they go and ride Jeep trails and stuff like that.
I
Go
can
out
see
to
him
the
doing that.
wilderness.
Yeah, yeah.
So one of the groups online had organized this event to go out and help with the cleanup with the hurricane stuff. And just some of these people, don't have enough money to hire like tree people to help break up the branches and stuff. And, they have things that have fallen down on their homes. So he drove 3.5 hours up there to go cut up logs and move all this debris away for most of the day. And, he was doing it as, that is a devotional act and something good to do in the world, but he wasn't going around telling everyone, hey, I'm pagan.
He
This
didn't
is
wear
why
his
I'm doing
hubcap.
it.
He didn't wear his
Right.
hubcap.
The badge. This is fine. I'm a representative.
Yeah. Hello, I'm pagan.
Right. But that can be part of your spirituality. That can be part of your devotion. And it's just something that you know about. Like, go and make the world a better place. So I think those kind of acts of kindness can go a long way.
I can get on board with all of that. All right. Last question. Is there anything you want to ask of me?
When's the next book coming out?
Oh, God, no. I didn't want to write the one I wrote.
I thought you were going to say that. Well, you can't just stop at one. They're like
Sure I
M&Ms.
can.
You have to have all of them.
I could have stopped at 0. I was okay. I don't
No,
know. You guys that are,
there's something else you have to tell the world, clearly.
I don't know how y'all do it. Seriously. Those of you that have written, several books, I don't know how you do it because I'm tired.
It's a madness that descends upon you for a while, and then you create this thing, and then
Yeah, don't give her any ideas. I'm really good, really. I don't have anything else to say. I just don't know what else to say.
You say that, but I don't know if that's true.
Well, we'll see. I am not going to say no because that's a sure sign
that you will have to do it.
Yeah, so I don't plan to. How about that?
Okay.
There's no plan to do that.
When has anyone's plans ever gone the way they thought they were? When when it's related to the Queen.
It's a hard subject to talk about for people that don't understand it. Because I think it's just something that that people just have lost track of, and to kind of get people to back to thinking that. I think it's a challenging subject matter.
Well, challenge it. It's a worthy challenge. Then.
Bite me. All right. So, how can others? We're ending this now. How can others find out about you?
You can find me on Facebook and Instagram, or you can go to stephaniewoodfield.com. My website has links to everything. So if you want to see stuff for my books, it's on there. If you want to see stuff for events I'm going to, it's on there. Or if you want to see my Etsy shop for all of the art and jewelry I create, all the links are on there. So Stephanie Woodfield.
Highly recommend all that, and I'll have links down in the description for that stuff, so people can easily. We're lazy. We're not going to look at nothing, so I'll put some links down there so people can easily click through. Won't want anybody to work to do anything, so we'll make it easy for them. as I'm not being judgmental, right? So all right, Stephanie, thank you for showing up. Thank you for being so open and honest with us and giving us some things to think about.
I enjoyed it. Thank you for having me.
Bye, everybody.